So the government is still shut down, and while all eyes are on the political gridlock in Washington, D.C., a silent crisis is brewing that could freeze your home sale or your home purchase. Some things are happening behind the scenes, and it's jamming up the housing market in ways you won't see on the evening news. And this has jumped past politics now. We're now talking about a fundamental breakdown in the essential mechanics of buying and selling a home in the United States. For starters, the lapse of the National Flood Insurance Program is putting an estimated 1,300 home sales at risk every single day. And believe it or not, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Many government-backed loan programs, they are paused for new commitments. And while conventional loans are still being processed, many lenders, they are reporting huge delays. So in this video, we're gonna break down exactly how this shutdown is creating a hidden housing crisis, who is most at risk, and most importantly, what you can do right now to protect your real estate plans from falling apart. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Patina Thomas, your go-to realtor here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Let's get into today's video. All right, to really get what's going on, you have to look past the shouting matches on TV and into the nuts and bolts of a real estate deal. So buying a house isn't like buying a car. It's a complicated process that leans on a handful of critical government services. And right now, many of those services, they're basically offline. First, let's talk about loans. Most conventional mortgages, they're still moving because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they're operating as usual. But for anyone counting on government-backed financing, the situation, it is grim. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA, has completely stopped issuing new loans and guarantees. So for buyers in rural and small town America who rely on these zero down payment loans, this has brought their home buying journey to a screeching halt. For them, the market isn't just slow, it's closed for now. Then you've got FHA and VA loans, lifelines for so many first-time buyers and veterans. So while these loans are still being processed, the agencies, they're running on skeleton crews, and that means major delays. A process that may take a few weeks could now stretch on much longer with no clear end in sight. Many of my colleagues are reporting that frustrated buyers are seeing their hard-won rate lock expire, which could cost them thousands of dollars. But here's the problem that's sneaking up on everyone. Even people with conventional loans, those verifications. Before a bank hands over hundreds of thousands of dollars, they need to verify your income. A key way they do this is by requesting your tax transcript directly from the IRS. But with the IRS operating with about half its staff furloughed, getting that little piece of paper is a huge challenge. It's a quiet but critical bottleneck that's putting deals in limbo all across the country. And perhaps the biggest immediate threat is that the shutdown of the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP. So if you're buying a home in a designated flood zone, federal law, it requires that you have flood insurance at closing. With the NFIP unable to issue new policies, an estimated 1,300 home sales per day, they are at risk. So this is a ticking time bomb that could derail closing everywhere from Florida to Texas to California, leaving both buyers and sellers completely stranded. So those are the direct mechanical failures, but the indirect impacts, they are just as damaging. This is where the shutdown stops being a procedural program and start becoming a crisis of confidence. So nearly 900,000 federal employees have either been furloughed or working without pay. The Congressional Budget Office estimate the shutdown could ultimately cost the U.S. economy between $7 billion and $14 billion, depending on how long it lasts. But that's not just a statistic. That's lost income, canceled spending, and delayed financial decisions. Let's make this real. Imagine a family in the Washington, D.C. area. So they work for the government and have spent the last year saving for a down payment. They found their dream home, their offer was accepted, and they were set to close in 2 weeks. But now their paycheck is gone. Even if they get back pay later, their lender is getting nervous. Their VA loan is facing delays, and they're terrified of losing their dream home over political chaos they can't control. This isn't a hypothetical story. It's happening right now. In markets with a lot of federal workers workers, we're seeing signs of a slowdown. In the Washington, D.C. metro area, for example, the effect is especially visible. Over the past 4 weeks, listing activity in the city has been pretty much flat. New purchase contracts are down dramatically, off by 12.1% compared to a year ago. Showings have slowed to a crawl, with appointments for showings over the past 4 weeks down 15% compared to a year ago. A huge part of the local workforce doesn't know when they'll get paid again. They don't go house shopping. It's really that simple. And this uncertainty, it is made worse by another problem, a data blackout. So the government agencies that tell us how the economy is doing, like the Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they have delayed key reports. So this means that the Federal Reserve is flying blind, making it harder to make smart decisions about interest rates. For all of us, buyers, sellers, and investors, it means we're trying to navigate the market with a foggy map. And here's the paradox in all this. In a strange twist, 30-year mortgage rates have actually fallen to their lowest level in over a year. Normally, that would spark a buying frenzy. Guess what? It hasn't. Instead, pending home sales have declined. The fear and uncertainty from the shutdown are completely overpowering the appeal of cheaper money. Buyers, they are hitting pause, waiting for the smoke to clear. And on top of that, home prices, they're still very elevated in all of the United States. So what does all this chaos mean for you, whether you're buying or selling or if you're an investor? Well, let's get into the actionable steps. So if you're a home buyer, your first move is to have a very honest chat with your mortgage lender. You need to ask some pointed questions. What kind of loan do you have? If it's a USDA loan, your purchase is probably on hold, and you need to see if another financing is even an option for you. If you have an FHA or VA loan, ask your lender about their current processing time and get ready for some serious delays. Even with a conventional loan, you're not totally in the clear, so you want to ask your lender this specific question. Will you need to get my income verification directly from the IRS? If they say yes, well, you need a plan B. Can they accept your file tax returns and bank statements instead? Which is mostly the case. Some will, but not all. You want to be proactive about this now before it blows up your closing. Also, check if the property is in a flood zone, because if it is, you have to find out the lender's policy on the NFIP shutdown immediately. So for buyers, the name of the game is communication and patience. Build extra time into your contract and stay in constant touch with your whole entire team. Now, if you're a seller, you need to adjust your strategy. You should know that your pool of qualified buyers just shrank, especially if you're in an area with a lot of federal workers or where FHA and USDA loans, they are common. So this probably isn't the time to be extra aggressive with your price. You have to be ready for offers to come in with financing contingencies that are longer than usual. You might get an offer from a buyer who looks perfect on paper, but their loan could get stuck for weeks in verification backlogs. For sellers, the key is flexibility. Person on the other side of the table is probably just as stressed as you are. So being willing to extend the closing date could be the one thing that keeps the deal from falling apart. Also, don't be shocked if foot traffic is slower than you like. It's a market-wide problem, not a reflection on your home. So patience and a realistic outlook, they are your best friends right now. So this situation is changing by the day. And the longer the shutdown drags on, the worse these impacts will get. It's a true test of nerves for everyone in the real estate world. I really want to hear from you though. Drop a comment below. Are you a buyer or seller who's been hit by this? What are you seeing in your local market? The more we share, the better prepared we'll all be. So what's the bottom line? The 2025 government shutdown isn't causing a market crash, but it is causing widespread market paralysis. It's a crisis driven not by a lack of buyers or too many homes, but by a breakdown in the government machinery that quietly keeps the whole system running. The direct impacts are startling thousands of homes and creating closing nightmares, especially for people using government-backed financing or if you're buying in flood zones. The indirect impacts, so we're talking about the economic fear, the anxiety from furloughed workers, and the data blackout. It's all freezing buyers and sellers in place, creating a quiet standoff across the country. If there's one thing to take away, it is this. The longer the shutdown goes on, the more hesitancy there will be in the greater Washington, D.C. housing market and on a national level as well. So there are two wild cards that could have a more significant impact on the market activity. First, if federal workers do not get back pay, the local economy will suffer a more permanent setback. In the housing market, it will take a bigger hit. Second, if the shutdown is resolved by this month and the federal government reopens with back pay for employees and no additional major layoffs, expect a seasonally slow housing market, but with potential for a rebound in the spring. Your best move is to stay informed and be prepared. If you want to stay up to date on how this is all unfolding and get the latest tips on how to navigate this tricky market, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.